Hey everyone, it's Julia, and today I will be sharing with you lovely people my TBR for the month of March. 2020 has been hectic, to say the least. I'm going through so many life changes. I'm starting a new job and quitting an old one. I'm doing so much volunteer work at a nature center. I'm trying to start school again. It's just been crazy. Unfortunately, because I have been so busy and it's been crazy, I have only read one book this year. I can't even say that I read the book because I listened to the audiobook, so technically I have not read a single book this year. Along with all these life changes, I have gone through one of the longest reading slumps I have ever gone through in the history of my reading. Because I have not read at all this year, I'm going to try to make it up and read as much as I can this month. So expect a few readathons because they're coming. So because I went through such a big reading slump that lasted from November last year until now, I have missed out on reading some pretty popular books, so excuse me for that. Enough rambling, let's just get on with my TBR. The first book on my TBR is actually one that I started in February, but I'm finishing maybe beginning March, but most likely late February, so it is still going on my March TBR, and that is the Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I've read a lot of mixed reviews about this book, and it seems to me that people either love it or hate it. I'm about 120 pages in, and so far I really like the story. However, I will say that I heard this was supposed to be an Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass spinoff, and I'm having a lot of trouble seeing correlations between the two books. Maybe it's because I'm not far enough along in the book, or maybe I need to reread Through the Looking Glass as a refresher, but I'm just having a really hard time finding the similarities. Honestly, if I were to read the Hazelwood without actually knowing beforehand that this was supposed to be a Through the Looking Glass spinoff, I would never have guessed, except for that the main character's name is Alice. That's the only giveaway, really. If you have not read The Hazelwood, it is a fairy tale novel about a girl named Alice who lives with her mother, and they are always on the road because they believe that if they stay in one place for too long, their bad luck will catch up to them. But when Alice's mother goes missing, she realizes that her grandmother, who is an author of these dark fairy tales and who supposedly died on her estate, the Hazelwood, Alice realizes that their bad luck has caught up to them and it is worse than she ever could have imagined. Alice has to venture into the Hazelwood and her grandmother's twisted world in order to save her mother, along with the help of a boy named Ellery Finch, who is a super fan of her grandmother's book. Next on my TBR is another book that I've also already started, but I'm not that far into it, and that is As Old as Time by Liz Broswell. I actually started this book before the Hazelwood, but I'm having a pretty hard time getting into it, so I think I'm gonna have to switch to audiobook. I'm pretty disappointed because I was really looking forward to reading this book, but I'm just having such a hard time getting into the story. But As Old as Time is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and if you don't know how Liz writes her books, she asks a question at the beginning of the book and then bases the story off of that question. So the question at the beginning of this book is, what if Belle's mother cursed the Beast? So like I said earlier, As Old as Time is a twisted tale about the original Beauty and the Beast. From my understanding, the book is pretty similar to how the original Beauty and the Beast is at the beginning. Belle is smart, resourceful, charismatic, and she wants to leave her town to travel the world. However, her father wants to stay home to wait for her mother that will probably never return. Belle is also the Beast's captive, and if you remember in the movie, Belle never touches the Beast's rose. She almost does, but not quite. In the book, she does touch the rose, and once she touches the rose, she is barraged with these images of her mother, who was actually the enchantress, who put the curse on the Beast's castle, the Beast himself, and everybody who resided inside. So the Beast and Belle team up together to unravel this mystery about their families. The third book on my TBR is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. This book has been sitting on my shelf for so long, since probably last October, and I finally have the time to read it. My cat just walked in. This book was also suggested by a booktuber, I can't remember who, but that's why I was initially attracted to the book. Eliza and Her Monsters is a fiction romance about a girl named Eliza who is this socially awkward, weird pariah in real life, but online she transforms into Lady Constellation, who is this anonymous creator of a popular webcomic. The webcomic's biggest fan fiction writer transfers to Eliza's school and draws her into a life offline she never could have imagined. But Eliza's secret is accidentally shared and her whole world just falls apart. The next and fourth book on my March TBR is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have not heard many people say anything bad about this book, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Initially, it didn't seem like my type of book, but then I heard rumors that this was supposedly about Stevie Nicks or based off of her, and I am a huge fan of Fleetwood Mac, so I had to pick it up. I have very high expectations for this book because of everything I've heard, and I really don't think I'm going to be disappointed. If you, for some reason, have not heard of this book yet, it is about a girl named Daisy who lives in LA in the late 60s. She sneaks into clubs, sleeps with rock stars, and dreams of singing at the Whiskey Go-Go. She is also beautiful, and her voice is starting to get noticed, along with a band called The Six. Billy Doon is the lead singer, and he finds out that his girlfriend is pregnant. When he finds this out, he basically just goes crazy while he's on the road. Eventually, Billy and Daisy's paths cross when a producer suggests that they work together, not knowing that that idea was legendary. If you love hearing about the rock star lifestyle back in the 60s and 70s, you will definitely love this book, and I highly suggest you try it out. The fifth book on my TBR is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I have never read a book like this, and the cover is so beautiful, so I was extremely intrigued when I picked it up. The book is based on Korean folklore, which I have never read about or studied before, so I'm super excited about learning about it. The cover is absolutely stunning and creative, and I am most excited to read this book out of everything on my TBR list. Wicked Fox is a YA paranormal fiction about an 18-year-old girl named Gumi Young. I am so sorry if I'm pronouncing any of these names wrong. Gumi Young has a secret. She is a 9-tailed fox, half human, who survives by consuming the energy of men. She has a soft spot for people and doesn't kill indiscriminately and wouldn't kill if she had the choice. Mi-young only takes the lives of men who have committed terrible crimes. This completely reminded me of Twilight when Edward would only hunt people who had done something terrible. Mi-young and her mother protect themselves by hiding in plain sight until she meets a handsome boy who is being attacked by a goblin in the woods. And she breaks her mother's one rule by exposing her 9 tails and saving the boy. While saving the boy, she loses her fox speed, which is her Gumio soul. That just sounds so interesting and intense to me, and I'm so excited to read it and tell you guys what I think. The last book on my TBR is Ink by Alice Broadway. Look how insanely beautiful that cover is, and the inside is beautiful as well. Now, I have heard of this book a few years back, but I wasn't super into fantasy back then. But now I am extremely into fantasy, so this is the perfect time for me to read a book like this. Ink is a fantasy fiction book about every achievement, failing, and significant moment in your life being immortalized onto your skin. So basically, you're just covered in these tattoos of everything you've ever done in your life. The story follows a girl named Leora whose father has died, but she finds solace in the fact that his body is covered in this beautiful and wonderful story. But she finds a symbol on the back of his neck of the worst crime you can commit. The secret gets out and jeopardizes Leora's life and her father's legacy. Although the story fascinates me, I'm not sure if the writing style is going to be my type, but I'm really excited to find out. That was all the books on my March TBR. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I think this weekend I'm going to do a readathon, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in my next video.